Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into Anthropic's huge new release, Claude Opus 4.8. Now, if you've been following the AI space, you know that raw capability, well, that's really only half the battle. The true frontier right now is reliability. So in this Explainer, we're taking a rather dense product announcement and turning it into a journey, going from raw, unbridled AI power to applied, fiduciary-grade trust. We're going to break down exactly what makes this update tick and why it might fundamentally change how you interact with AI at work.
Here's our roadmap for today. We've got a packed agenda. First, we'll officially meet Claude Opus 4.8. Then, we'll unpack the new features, check out its real-world agent performance, dive into a massive honesty breakthrough, and finally, look at what comes next. Let's get right to it.
All right, Section 1, meet Claude Opus 4.8. And let me tell you, this isn't just about the model being smarter, it's heavily about speed and economics. To kick things off, Opus 4.8 introduces an upgraded fast mode that operates at an incredible 2.5 times the speed of previous models. I mean, we've all been there, right? Sitting there, watching a cursor blink while an AI tries to untangle a massive block of code or analyze some incredibly dense financial filing. It completely breaks your flow. Speed is absolutely everything for staying in the zone. So a 2.5 times speed boost means your digital collaborator is finally keeping pace with your actual train of thought.
But what makes that speed even more impressive is how it impacts your budget. Get this accelerated fast mode is now 3 times cheaper than its predecessors. 3 times. And here's the real kicker. They kept the base, regular usage price completely unchanged at $5 per million input tokens. So you're getting a massively upgraded, blazing fast model, and the premium you'd usually pay to use that top-tier speed has absolutely plummeted. Okay, moving right along to Section 2, unpacking the new features. Because beyond just speed and cost, Opus 4.8 is handing over some truly unprecedented control directly to you. This right here is one of my absolute favorite additions, effort control. You're now going to see a slider right alongside the model selector in the interface. Think of it kind of like a dial for your AI's brainpower. If you dial it down to lower effort, Claude responds faster, it saves your rate limits, and uses fewer tokens. That's perfect for quick questions or simple formatting. But when you crank that dial up to extra or max effort, boom, Claude transforms into a senior-level digital collaborator. It actually spends more tokens to think deeper. It's exactly what you want for complex, asynchronous workflows where you absolutely need the right answer, not just a fast one. To see this in action, we have to talk about the new Dynamic Workflows feature, which is currently in research preview for Claude Code. Picture this. The AI autonomously handles code-based scale migrations. It starts with a kickoff, it meticulously plans the work, and then, honestly, this is the crazy part. It spins up hundreds of parallel subagents in a single session. It literally verifies its own outputs using your existing test suite as a benchmark and takes the whole process right down to the final merge. We are talking about automating tasks across hundreds of thousands of lines of code. It's a total game changer. So let's jump to Section 3, Real-World Agent Performance. Because raw capability is awesome, but how does this translate to applied, everyday power? Let's see what early testers are actually saying. For autonomous tasks, tech lead Miguel Gonzalez points out that it's the strongest computer use and browser agent model they've ever tested. In fact, it scored an 84% on the online mind-to-web evaluation. But the most crucial phrase he uses is that it stays reflective and on task. When you set an agent loose on the web to do something, you need it to reliably finish the workload from end to end, without getting distracted or stuck in some weird infinite loop. Opus 4.8 really delivers that consistency. And when you step into high-stakes environments, well, the bar gets so much higher. Joel Hron, the CTO at Co-Counsel Legal, uses a phrase that I seriously think is going to define the next era of AI. He calls it fiduciary grade. Opus 4.8 delivers the consistency required to build truly fiduciary-grade AI systems for legal and tax professionals. Because let's face it, when your AI is handling dense legal filings or substantive tax work, a hallucination isn't just an annoying quirk. It's a massive liability. But it's not exclusively about code and legal docs. On the creative side, staff writer Katie Parrott notes that it's a major quality of life update. She highlights that Opus 4.8 perfectly balances technical execution with nuance and taste. It's significantly better at carrying context and style direction across a really long session, which is just absolutely vital when you're collaborating on writing or creative strategy. And the thing is, these tester experiences, they are backed by hard empirical data. Opus 4.8 is just crushing enterprise benchmarks. It actually beats prior models in GPT 5.5 at parity on cost for the superagent benchmark. It's also the very first model to break the 10% overall all-pass standard on the notoriously grueling legal agent benchmark. Oh, and for data workers using tools like Databricks Genie, its multimodal strength lets it reason directly over unstructured content, like PDFs and diagrams, at a staggering 61% cheaper token cost compared to Opus 4.7. Okay, pause. We've seen the impressive hype, the massive cost reductions, and the shiny performance specs. But let's slow our pacing down for just a second. Because for true enterprise adoption, for actually handing over the keys to your most sensitive tasks, only one question matters. Can we truly depend on it to be honest? Which brings us perfectly to Section 4, the honesty breakthrough. Because in the AI space, raw intelligence is completely useless without reliability. Think about it. If a genius-level model lies to you even 5% of the time, you still have to double-check 100% of its work. A very common problem with AI is that it's a bit of a people pleaser, right? It wants to give you an answer, which means it sometimes confidently jumps to conclusions even when the evidence is super thin. But early testers are reporting that instead of confidently hallucinating, Opus 4.8 actually pushes back on unsound plans. It flags issues with inputs that other models completely miss. It builds confidence through verifiable multi-service explorations before it makes any big changes. Basically, it knows what it doesn't know, and it's not afraid to tell you. And Anthropic's own rigorous evaluations back this up. Opus 4.8 is 4 times less likely than its predecessor to let code flaws slip by without remarking on them. 4 times. Imagine having a real-life code reviewer who is 4 times more likely to catch a subtle bug before it gets merged. That is a massive, immediate return on investment for any engineering team. Now, before releasing any model, Anthropic runs a detailed alignment assessment. This assessment confirms that Opus 4.8 reaches new highs in what they call pro-social traits. Basically, this means the AI actively supports your autonomy and acts in your best interest. It actively pushes misaligned behaviors, things like deception or cooperating with misuse, way down to levels that are comparable to Anthropic's highly secure, deeply aligned Mythos preview model. So, on to our final section, Section 5. What comes next? With Opus 4.8 available everywhere today via the Claude API and Claude AI, it is time to look ahead, because Anthropic definitely isn't stopping here. Their future roadmap focuses on 3 massive pillars. First up, democratizing these exact Opus-level capabilities at even lower costs in future models. Second, they are heavily advancing Project Glasswing, which is where select organizations use the incredible Claude Mythos preview for deep, complex cybersecurity work. And third, they are actively developing the rigorous cyber safeguards needed so they can eventually release these next-generation Mythos-class intelligence models to all customers in the coming weeks. It's a huge roadmap. Wow, okay, we've covered a ton of ground today. Everything from 2.5 times speed boosts and dynamic workflows to unprecedented benchmarks in sheer honesty. Which leaves us with one final thought to chew on. Now that we're officially entering the era of genuinely reliable, fiduciary-grade digital collaborators, what complex, real-world task will you finally trust an AI to run end-to-end? Think about your biggest, most frustrating bottleneck at work right now, because chances are Opus 4.8 is finally ready to tackle it. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.